Stuart Signs has 6 decades of history, Signbox 4 decades of history, combined, you know, fantastic legacy. And it takes, because Matthew and I started our careers at 3M in Bracknell. We were very much involved right at the very outset of the CAD/CAM era. This was Charlie Dobson and Spandex when they started producing and importing the Graphics 4 from America. We were on a test market for 3M because 3M had their converters like Stuart Signs, like Supersign Duramark, who were heavily invested into fleet and rail and transport markets with wide format print and CAD cutting onto vinyl. And they saw the potential of a small volume market selling graphics, because in those days, you know, the vehicle fleets, the ones and twos, were all sign written, and there was no alternative to sign writing. So we started a test market with 3M called Sign Language, and our boss at the time was Johnny Hawkins, he went on to Supersign Duramark and is CEO of Aura Graphics in Lowestoft, and he took us around 3M distributors in Europe, and we saw some amazing machinery. Ollie Nomby, it was one of the first in Denmark. He had a fantastic die cutting machine that produced all of these letters, and he had a whole team of people respacing the letters with application tape, and that's how vinyl graphics were initially made. And you had, I think, 3 choices of Helvetica, a Times Roman, and a script, and it was quite interesting. We started purchasing from him in the very early days, and then very rapidly Charlie Dobson came on the scene with Spandex and the Graphics 4B, 4A and 4B, and you know, we were one of the first adopters there. And I think Matthew and I had the conversation at the time. You know what, we were 23, 24 years old, and very naively we said we could probably make a business out of this ourselves. And there's a famous adage that the best 3M customer is actually an ex-3M employee. We started Signbox, 1985, and went to the bank, and that was in the days of Margaret Thatcher and the Small Firms Loan Guarantee Scheme, which backed us just to get started. And we bought our first machine, predominantly using 3M vinyl. So we did tend to be we certainly were a good 3M customer for a number of years, and we picked up some really nice accounts. The Carlsberg Brewliner liveries, we did all their tractor units, and Mercedes trucks were an account of ours, and it just snowballed from there, really. How we got into architectural signage is that my background, I trained initially as an architect and have an architectural family background, and we kind of saw because the race for machinery was fast, and it was at the same time that all the franchises were setting up Fast Signs, Signs Express, and we suddenly saw what was a very lucrative vehicle market becoming quite competitive. We thought, well, what could we do here? How could we change this? And we exhibited for the very first time. In fact, that's how I met my wife. She was working for a company called AGB Exhibitions and selling a show called ShopEx International and IDI at Earl's Court. And she came to see me, and the relationship went from there. But we actually booked a stand and first exhibited at ShopEx, and were next to a company called ShopKit, ShopKit Designs, who you probably have heard of. And we saw all their button fixings and tension cable displays and components for retail, and we thought, you know what, we could design a range of fixings for the sign industry for supporting glass. And in those days, we cut vinyl and applied it to the back of the glass panels. And we developed that into a range alongside ShopKit called SignKit. And it was a fabulous product, sold really well, still sells really well. And we started selling that predominantly to architects and getting specified by architects on wayfinding projects and branding projects all over the UK and in Europe. ShopKit had European distributors at that stage and a US distributor, and we got on well with the guys at ShopKit, and we formed a joint venture called SignKit, and for many years that proved really successful. but it got us into the architectural signing side of things. And so we had inquiries for brand signage and built up letters, and that grew and grew. And so we had to move from our very small premises into larger premises on the same estate. We've always been in Thorpe in Egham, and it just went from there really. Investment into routers. We bought the Sabre router from Spandex, and then we bought Texel and Laser. And at the time, everything was very much CAD cut rather than printed graphics. So we suddenly thought, well, we're going to have to invest in print technology, and bought our first Rockhopper printer. And we then found that because we were being asked by architects to work on a lot of commercial fit outs in London at a time when the city was really booming, we had Richard Rogers and Norman Foster designing fabulous buildings like the Lloyd's building and what have you. This was early 90s, I guess. And there was a massive investment in construction, and we just did really well with fit out companies, interior fit out companies for corporate interiors. Part of that was window manifestation, and we suddenly needed to print white fades and gradient fades on manifestation, and we were buying this from a digital printer called Digital Glass at the time, who are based in Wales, and we recognised that we had to have this technology in-house, and it was fortuitous for us because one of the co-joined units that we're in came up for sale. We purchased that and we put Durst printers in there, ending up with a P10 160, and we had two Amigas that didn't perform as well as we had hoped. The P10 160 was a fabulous machine, and it meant we could print white onto optically clear manifestation film. And that really snowballed our investment in print technology, because we, alongside the manifestation graphics, we then went into wallpapers and corporate branding, environmental graphics. Predominantly the HP latexes were absolutely fabulous for wallpapers on Digimirror. So yeah, that's the journey of Signbox really, and it's an exciting opportunity, I think, for us with Stuart Signs to almost have to go back to our heritage of 3M. And that's very much where Stuart's are. They're a 3M Platinum partner, heavily invested in using 3M films, and they've got some fabulous kit down in Southampton. And we, as a group now, I think we're a strong proposition for the industry, and with our architectural heritage and signing. And
so do you think that was the real attraction for Stuart Signs, particularly to sort of almost the fit, if you like, you providing a big chunk of the market that they're not really into, but you kind of have a similar ethos and foundation?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, part of their sectors they do cover is the cruise market because of their position based in Southampton, and there is a huge amount of branding signage, architectural signage on cruise ships. I think they see that strategically as an important area that they'd like to develop. The other side that's incredibly strong is the digital side. With Sarah's help, we invested heavily in digital with a digital website called digitalsignbox.co.uk. This was on the back of our e-shop, where we were starting to receive orders, primarily just box shipping product from Allsea, who are the big digital providers in Birmingham. They've been a fabulous supplier for us over the years, and ready to expand that side of Signbox, we produced our own dedicated digital site. And so I think the digital side is very strong, and that will grow. We had always seen that very much as a growth area ourselves with Signbox. That's I couldn't quote you on the numbers, but that's a heavily growing sector, and there's a lot of value to be had in that we hadn't explored before.
Okay, from a people point of view, your people and their people, are you in the situation now where you say, well, the two companies will essentially carrying on as are, or are you looking into how that's going to work across the two sites?
Well, that was something that really impressed, I think, both parties, is that our culture and our vision and our values were so identical. There was such a meeting of the ways when we discussed this amongst them, and I think that's been borne out from the conversations that we've had in the last week. We've obviously presented to our team, and they've presented to their team, and there's nothing but positive comments over this. Fabulous opportunities for all involved, from our team in seeing Stuart's expertise in wide format and print, and logistics of operating a 14-15 million pound turnover company. I think from an architectural point of view, they see us as being quite strategic in being able to offer hard signage to all of their clients, and they've got some lovely blue chip companies they work with. So yeah, I think it provides strength to both companies that is unparalleled. And there was a strap line that we came up with: 2 iconic brands, 1 bold future.
So, I mean, you've kind of covered it there a little bit, but your customers and Stuart's customers who are looking at this and going, "This is interesting. We could perhaps do something across the board here." Is that must be a big part of this?
Yes, I think it is, and a large part of our customer base is the contracting sector in construction, and it's still heavily competitive, and we have to tender every project, and it is becoming increasingly more so. So being able to offer really superb production facilities and quality that Stuart's bring is fabulous for us. So that's a real plus and tick in the box for Signbox. We have some fabulous corporate clients. The feedback that we've had so far is that this provides us with the strength, if you like, to take on those larger projects, and that we wouldn't have been able to touch without being part of this.
On a sort of more personal level, Mark, I mean, you mentioned about, I'm getting to a point in a year or two where I might get the similar letter from companies. Like you said, that was a few years ago. Is it? You seem quite really pleased with what's happened. Do you feel like you're sort of handing the legacy over in a good way?
Yeah, I think what this does, it kind of cements the legacy phase. So, Signbox has grown. We've had very much organic growth over the last 40 years. And we've got some people that have been with us now since day one. We have a fantastic staff retention rate at Signbox because we like to think that we're a nice place to work. It gives me the comfort knowing that we're with a partner who is going to take that legacy on and just grow it. And so very pleased.
It's also for me, it's always going to be hard to sort of completely let go anyway, isn't it? But it does mean that you can kind of do it in your own time and feel sort of more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not certainly planning on going anywhere to begin with. There's still a lot of work to do, and I think one of the things that we've sort of engendered in Signbox is that we've got a great team of senior people that certainly we brought into this at an early stage. 2 or 3 individuals who, Sarah including, who are able to work on the business as opposed to just working in the business. And it's really important to have those people in your organization. So because able to work on a handing the reins over, it takes 9 months. It's not a 5-minute job, and there's a data room filled with data on Signbox that has taken months to populate. And I've been very fortunate in being able to concentrate on that as well as run the business as MD, because the key people in the business are actually running it. And I dare say that I could walk away tomorrow. I have no intention of doing that, but
Good. Well, it just sounds really positive. So congratulations on doing that, and I hope it all goes really well.